Look closely at these dense stone courtyards. We usually imagine 850 BC Israel as a quiet, pious land of shepherds. The historical reality reveals a wealthy, heavily trafficked bottleneck for a global trade network stretching all the way from Gibraltar to India. This image shows gold-embossed artifacts directly linking the cult of Baal to vast economic wealth. Queen Jezebel operated as the chief executive of a Phoenician monopoly, weaponizing this state religion to enforce an ironclad economic system. In this corporate state, the prophet Elijah operated as the Middle East's most dangerous political dissident, actively organizing to tear down a foreign trade syndicate. This showdown between factions functioned as a high-stakes war over Mediterranean resources and supply chains. Elijah wins the ultimate victory at Mount Carmel. He calls down a massive pillar of fire, executes 450 rival priests, and completely shatters the psychological grip Baal held over the population. He holds absolute public devotion. The path to the throne is wide open, and yet, instead of marching on the capital, he flees to a cave in the desert, terrified of Jezebel's retaliation. He suffered from severe strategic myopia. Elisha genuinely believed that executing a public miracle and winning the hearts of the masses was the finish line. Curious, but what if he hadn't run? What if Elijah realized that winning the heavenly fire is totally useless if you abandon the earthly game? Rule number 1 of seizing control: a miracle is marketing. In an alternate timeline, instead of retreating, Elijah weaponizes the sheer awe of the crowd. His very first move relies on that momentum. He directs the fanaticized mob to surround King Ahab's chariot right at the base of the mountain, forcing the king into a sudden, highly public divorce from Jezebel. Rule number 2, revolution is logistics. To secure his new regime, Elijah has to capture physical infrastructure before Jezebel's foreign backers can respond. He marches 10,000 radicalized peasants into the capital to forcefully nationalize the lucrative Phoenician warehouses and ports, severing their trade routes. A successful rebellion rarely survives on sustained religious excitement. It survives on the immediate physical occupation of critical supply lines. Rule number 3, governance is ruthlessness. Maintaining stolen power requires taking a chaotic rebellion and forging it into a permanent, highly disciplined state apparatus. Elijah establishes a strict technocratic theocracy. He takes the existing schools of the prophets and reorganizes them into an elite, lethal intelligence network designed to root out any remaining Phoenician sympathizers. His mythological reputation for controlling the rain is formalized into state science. Israel develops highly advanced irrigation and resource management to secure its food supply. That same fanatical devotion accelerates the militarization of the state, driving rapid innovations in pouring molten iron to forge mass weaponry. By fusing absolute moral authority with total control over natural resources and industry, you create a fortress state that is virtually immune to standard political collapse. Zooming out, the macro-historical consequences of this single coup are staggering. Elijah's total blockade of the ports rapidly starves the Phoenician capital of Tyre, completely stalling their global expansion. Because Tyre loses its wealth, its most famous colony is never founded. Look at these coastal ruins. In this timeline, the legendary naval superpower of Carthage is entirely erased from history. Instead, Elijah's successors use ships like this ancient galley to monopolize the Mediterranean trade routes 500 years ahead of schedule. An entrenched, heavily industrialized Judean empire holding that much capital would have easily suffocated the Roman Republic while it was still a minor village on the Tiber River. Without Roman subjugation, the cultural fallout is absolute. In a world dominated by a unified, iron-fisted, tech-worshipping theocracy, the historical conditions that created the need for a persecuted Messiah never emerge. Christianity never happens. One man's failure to leverage a massive political bottleneck in 850 BC accidentally cleared the path for the birth of the Roman Empire, and by extension, the modern Western world. But here, in reality, Elijah never built a global empire. He is remembered simply as a holy man in an ancient text. His tragic flaw was believing that public popularity and divine endorsement were adequate substitutes for raw enforcement and logistical control. The ultimate law of power is unforgiving. A voice crying out in the desert remains only an echo until it is backed by the steel to enforce it without question.